Hi everyone, and thanks for checking out my channel. I'm going to do some midweek checkpoint back on a couple of markets I'm following, um, basically based on the previous video I've made about the precious metals and also Bitcoin. But I'll be looking at some other markets such as coffee and looking at Ethereum just to widen a little bit the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency trading. So yeah, let's get started. First one is natural gas. It's been quite a while I didn't touch on this. Mainly I stopped day trading it because my strategy was clearly not working on that commodity, so it's probably best to just to stop when you're not actually performing somewhere, I believe, and switch back to something that's working better. For me, on natural gas is the 4 hours chart and watching out for divergence on that time frame. And we know I have a very nice one that's developing since the price broke above 2.20 and made the first touch on the divergence on 237. So I believe we have a bit more room to go. Usually 10% is what we get on that kind of divergence. If we look back on the main one we had, I think the most obvious was the one back in April this year. So we had that massive divergence on the 4 hours. Usually the daily one doesn't actually work so well, so you usually don't get daily divergence before the price is reversing for good. So we got that spike here on 2.15 that dropped back here to the lower end of the divergence here at 150. So that was a really nice trade, and I'm hoping to catch something similar now. We also had a very similar one also again on the 4 hours. That one was of course much bigger, it was quite nice, but that one came in winter, so very critical time for natural gas. We're not there yet, and we had that jump to 290, major divergence on the 4 hours that did actually drive the price much lower and crashed down to 150. That was a massive trade on the short side, and of course I don't believe we're gonna get anything like this now because we are approaching winter. So what I'm planning to do now is to trade the short side for the pullback on that trend line here. We're still having a bit of a gap to close here. I don't believe we're going to look for the 150 gap, it's too far away now, but the 180 is I think achievable. So from here we might have a bit of another attempt to break a little bit higher. 250 is actually possible, but then we are going to drop down for I think we're looking now here, so the 4 hours, potentially early September to mid-September. So we will have a nice entry point to trade the winter spike that we're gonna likely see. But no, the shoulder season will actually see the price dropping very likely. It's usually like this, so that wave down is actually interesting. So I started to load short position here. Of course I will ditch it should we actually break much higher, but I have some room to go. It's relatively safe, solid resistance here, and I believe that should be successful enough. The divergence is clean to me, and yes, hopefully will work. Now switching to the Euro US dollar. So we have a major breakthrough today. I was still looking at the divergence on the daily chart. That's major. We had a first signal here with that nice sort of evening star pattern that's shown here, massive red candle, but we got the momentum back up and broke near 120. That was unexpected. We can see that's not invalidated on terms of the divergence, so I'm still expecting this to break lower for the first target to be the origin of the divergence somewhere there. So we're going to stop probably at 116. That will be the 50 MA, sorry, but then looking at the bigger picture, I'm pretty sure we're going to drop much lower and go back to that major area of support. That's a 108, but that will be for later. So we're gonna probably drop here, then make some further move to the upside, retest that area before breaking lower. We have the 115, that's major zone as well, moving down here and then further down here. What I believe it will have as main impact will be on the precious metals, of course. So we're having silver, of course, that's being in the pattern now that we failed to actually establish a new higher high on that level, 28.3. So that's making for that nice trend line that's capping the price now. So we had that rising wedge. It's a continuation pattern from the move down we had here, reporting that the start of this to the break that we had today. I think it was maybe yesterday, did actually break the pattern, got that rejection on 28 again. I believe the target now is to revisit 24. So from 24 we'll see. Should we see any proper buying pressure showing here? Might be a long entry point that could be interesting, but keeping in mind that the origin of the divergence here is quite huge. We're looking at 23, so we cannot actually waive completely a possibility to collapse to 21. So that would be a major drop, of course, and might not happen that way, but we'll see depending on the price action, which where would be the best entry point for long position. But I believe at that point here is a short area, and I'm going to accumulate. So I'll open first short position here. We'll probably add to it should we actually break that 27.3. That is key, but we might still continue sideways a bit further until we actually get a proper break on the euro US on the US dollar. Looking same way to platinum, so it's back on the daily chart. We're having that big divergence as well. The momentum got broken as well with that massive red candle we got here, but the 20 MA is still working on the daily for now and holding the price. So I believe we're going to continue to tighten inside that range until we actually get a proper breakdown. And I believe we're gonna get first to the 50 MA, which is about 900, and we'll see should we stop here or if we get continuation to the downside. My take is that we might stop here, and the reason for this, I'm not showing the quote report, but when we look at gold, we didn't have the managed money following that move since the drop we got from 1700. They reduced their net long position. We have the same on silver, where the managed money did increase a little bit, but from 24 they reduced their net long position until here. They will likely continue to do so in the coming weeks until they get to something a little bit more natural, but that divergence on the quote report is usually pointing to something that's not doing good for the price wise. Now for platinum we have something a bit different, as we still keep seeing some accumulation. Don't actually have platinum here, but we don't have such a divergence. If we look at the quotes report, and here we have somehow some continuation. So they dropped here, of course, continuation of lowering their position, but then it did start some accumulation, very weak but not so solid. So maybe we'll find some support in that area, and the funds will have less ammunition to actually push the price lower. So we'll see that depending the reaction on the market, as well as platinum is correlated to industrial. But yeah, that would be the target, stopping at 900 to start building long position. Now switching to the cryptocurrencies, so we're having Bitcoin that's been in that bull flag in that channel, so that's it's not been challenged yet. So we are going to test, in my opinion, the 11,600 very soon, but we're still having that very big divergence here. That one is on the daily chart, or is it maybe could be the 4 hours actually? No, that was daily. So on the daily we're having that really big divergence that's pointing to a correction at least down to 11,000, and I believe that will be the place where we could see potential long entries. 10,500 is actually even better, as it was the previous resistance, revisit to that level, and the trend line running here. So we'll have for that to break the trend line as well, the momentum. I believe this is very much possible in the coming days, and that would be the favorite scenario. So break lower to revisit the 10,500, so roughly 15% down, between 10 and 15, which is not so big for Bitcoin anyway. And for cryptocurrency, I'm also looking at Ethereum for the reason it's so nice from a technical point of view that we're having that daily divergence that's almost perfect. we got that touch here at 440, and that got rejected, and now we broke just below the previous low on the RSI, which I believe will actually drag this much lower. So we're having origin of that divergence here, so I believe we are going to visit 340, and that could be a very nice entry point. Of course, it could collapse further down to 300, but I think as a first entry for long position longer term, that would be really nice to see 340. And finally, looking at coffee, so I was watching that inverted cup and handle pattern that is usually working very efficiently on coffee, and I had to extend the handle a bit higher than I was expecting. But if we look on the hourly chart, we can see that the RSI trend line is respected almost perfectly here, and that we are going to break lower in my opinion. So we could see some more sideways actions here, retesting the 120, but then I believe we are going to move down quickly to 110, and then from here we're just looking at the height, might be a little bit too much, from the cup, and they're basically taking us to 97, 95, where we will have some major support area and potential long entry. Yeah, so that's about it. Hopefully you found that useful, and that wasn't too long. I covered many commodities because I think there are going to be some really good opportunities in the coming weeks to enter long, especially on the precious metals, but also the cryptocurrencies. And yeah, we'll keep having a look at this, and until then, I wish you safe trading. Speak to you soon. Just bye.